Welcome into a special edition of our Cubs recap coverage. I'm David Kaplan. The Cubs are going to have to make moves in the offseason. They have got to figure out how they could score more runs. They need a thumper, a star in the middle of their lineup. One who could be available is Blue Jays superstar Vladimir Guerrero. No better place to go than my friend TSI Mike, who covers everything Toronto sports and is all over the Blue Jays beat. TSA Mike, thank you for taking time for us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cap. I really appreciate you letting me come on here and chat with you about the Blue Jays and the Cubs and give you some knowledge about Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
All right, so the Cubs should never have a player that they say, he makes too much money, we can't afford him. They do nothing but print money over at Wrigley Field. But they do need to get a big bat, a thumper in the middle of the lineup. Michael Busch at first base has had a nice rookie campaign. He's not Vladimir Guerrero. Do you believe Vladdy Guerrero can be had?
I think it's possible. I think anything's possible right now with the Blue Jays. After the season that we just saw, this is a team who was expecting to be in the playoff hunt, possibly competing for the AL East. That hasn't happened. We're at the bottom of the East. They're getting torn apart by all of the good teams in the East, and they're not playing up to their potential outside of the East as well. So it's been a disaster for the season for the Blue Jays. Everybody is available. I think it was a smart move by Ross Atkins, the GM, to only let out the contracts that were ending this season at the trade deadline. But kind of teased a little bit with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as well as Bichette that anybody could be on the move. And I think we've gotten a few different options here from both of those players. You got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's come out and said, I want to be in Toronto. And then you have a guy like Bichette who says, I have no plans to be in Toronto. So both of those guys are close. They're good buddies. I could see either one of them being moved in the offseason as long as the price is right.
So we see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on highlights. I'm a big baseball guy, so I watch a lot of baseball. Think he's a heck of a talent. Do you believe he is a true superstar? And if you were the Cubs, okay, it's going to cost me some talent out of my highly ranked farm system, or he's not as good as you all think he is?
He's the real deal. He's a good hitter. He's a pure hitter. He's got the power. He has only really been plagued by the mental strength that comes with these young kids that all of them seem to be struggling with these days. But Vladdy, he produces game in, game out. He gets hot and goes on stretches very, very occasionally. Just most recently, he had a 21 or 22 game hit streak that just ended a couple days ago. And of course, then he went 2 games without a hit against the Cubs in this recent series. But Vladdy, he's got bang. He can hit a home run at a moment's notice. Every at bat is a threat. He's also a contact hitter. He goes the opposite directions. He hits a lot of home runs out to right and right center field, which is not the typical slugger powered guy MO, but Vladdy is he's the real deal. He is a superstar in this league. He's got the name to go with it with his dad, obviously the heritage there, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Sr. And then he's got the talent in the field as well. You see him at first base. He can play third base. He is utility. I've seen him all over the diamond. He's played in the outfield. He can DH. There's a lot of good places to utilize Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And yes, I would put him in that superstar level.
In terms of what you hear, what it might cost in terms of cash in a new contract, because he's not coming to Chicago unless they also agree on a long-term deal. What type of money are we talking about that he's looking for?
It's a lot of money. He's going to be at the top of the market. You're looking at probably 40 to 50 million a season right now in his prime. This guy is young. He still has a lot of good baseball left in him. So I think you're going to see probably upwards of the bigger contracts in baseball, if not one of the highest, when he does ink that deal.
In terms of what you would think the Blue Jays would be able to get, I believe he has 1 year left of team control. So that's better than a guy going into a walk year being traded at the deadline. Ross Atkins, your general manager, I would think would have a number of suitors, so he would be able to drive the price up some. What would it take to get a guy like that?
For a guy like Vladdy, that would be a huge trade to the fan base. I mean, that's what I do with my channel. We are a community of sports fans, Toronto fans that get together and hang out every single game. And the fans will not take that lightly. I think of a guy like Vladdy, who is really the de facto face of the franchise. If they move him, it's going to take a lot. You're going to have to get a everyday player that's on the upper end. So not necessarily, you're not going to get a superstar in the trade for Vladdy with 1 year of control. However, you need to have a serviceable MLB guy that is an everyday player, as well as somebody probably up and coming that's right there on the AAA level, possibly even a couple games into their career, as well as maybe a prospect or two. It's going to take a lot to get a guy like Vladdy from the Jays, just because he is the face of the franchise. He is everything to this fan base. Moving a guy like that, they would need to get a lot in return in order for the fan base to be happy.
Okay, TSI Mike, the other guy that the Cubs had talked about was Bo Bichette. Then they go out and get Itzhak Paredes. He's got multiple years of team control at third. Dansby Swanson, I don't think anyone's taken that contract. He's locked in at short. You've got Nico Horner on I think 2 years left of team control on a contract at second. And their top two position player prospects are both infielders, probably second or third base, not shortstops. So Bo Bichette, is he getting moved? It sounds like today he does not want to be in Toronto long term.
Right. It sounds like he's going to be on the move. He says he has no plans to be there after next season, which is a stark contrast to what Vladdy was saying just a few weeks ago. So, and those guys usually roll together. They have their whole career since they came up together. Bo Bichette is a player that's going to be on the move. I don't think it makes a ton of sense for the Cubs, given what you just stated. But I could see a possible, a Dansby Swanson, if he was unhappy here, if the Jays don't have a problem taking contracts either, and money, kind of like the Cubs, they print a lot up there. But I could see maybe a 1-for-1 swap deal in something like that if Dansby would waive his no trade clause, and if something like that would even happen. But outside of that, I could see Bo fitting into the infield. I could see him being over Paredes as well. I think he's a better player. Bo is on the level of, he's not quite a superstar, but he's right there about to hit. If he could have stayed healthy this season and maybe had a better season than what he did, I think his value would be a little bit higher. But given the horrible season that the team has had, as well as that Bo has had, followed by the injury now with the calf and most likely being shut down for the season, given the Blue Jays playoff positioning out, it really would make a ton of sense to the Cubs, but it could definitely help the team. Bo Bichette's a great player. He's a great fielder. When his head's in the game, he's one of the better middle infielders in baseball.
Finally, anybody else you think the Blue Jays are going to move off that roster?
There's not much that I can see out of possibly some starting pitching. I could see a Chris Bassett possibly moving. He has talked a lot very publicly about wanting to pitch in the playoffs. That's something that's not going to happen with the Blue Jays. So the Cubs maybe have a better option for him going into next year. As well, you could have Jose Berrios as well. Jose Berrios is a guy who has done an extremely good job for the Blue Jays after coming over from the Minnesota Twins. Serviceable starter, mid-range guy. He's not quite an ace, but somebody that could definitely help the Cubs staff.
You also do a lot to help kids in the Toronto area with the hospital, and there's a QR code right there on the screen. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Cap. So I'm currently doing a Blue Jays summer rally for Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. So we are donating money as a community. A percentage of our channel proceeds from YouTube go to Sick Kids every single month. And as a community, we're a place to hang out and watch the game together. So Toronto fans and Cubs fans, Blue Jays fans, they get along well. Cubs fans and Toronto fans, being sister cities, do get along well. So come on over to the channel. Come hang out with us during the game sometime. And we do some big things. We like to work with charities. The first one here is Sick Kids Hospital, which we have the current campaign going for. So if you scan that QR code, you can donate directly to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. They are a leading provider of healthcare in Canada. They have done some amazing work. They have affected my family personally. I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for that hospital, as well as a lot of the people in Toronto. So thank you for mentioning that, and please scan that QR code. Any little bit can help. Be greatly appreciated.
TSI Mike, make sure you send Vlad Guerrero our way, and we'll get you a nice package of prospects, okay?
Sounds good, Cap.